All right. It's that time. It's time for Beyond Sight and Sound. Let's do this.
Are you looking for a high-quality beach and sand scoop? Are you trying to take your hunting to the extreme? How about an American-based company that stands behind their product and everything they sell? Then check out our friends over at XTREME Scoops. John has been making scoops for some time now and makes a quality beach and sand scoop to take your hunting to the next level. XTREME Scoops recently released their new sand shredder that works great in the water and on the beach. And if you're a new Equinox user, you may want to check out his Surfmaster X3 that can trap those small targets you new Equinox users are finding out there. XTREME Scoops' company approach is let's do it right. So do it right, buy it once, and go to the extreme. XTREMEScoops.com. That's XTREME scoops.com.
Caution. Please do not operate motor vehicles or power equipment while under the influence of this show. Listening to this show could cause side effects such as bouts of laughter, violent binges of cabin fever, and even dreams of silver and gold. Please be advised. Now that the fine print is out of the way, on with the show.
All right, the fine print's out of the way, and it's time to roll with the show here. We're back and we're live once again. You are listening to Beyond Sight and Sound, metal detecting and treasure hunting radio for all the really cool digging people out there. And as I look into the chat, I see that we've got Craig in, we've got Mark, we've got the Bills. I don't know how he does that. That in-studio cam works good for Bill, I'll tell you. We've got Paul in, we've got number of others I've seen. We've even got Barb in the house as well, so she's monitoring the chat. And yeah, I don't know how Bill does it. He's got that in-studio cam going well because, I mean, Barb and I both knew that we were going live, and somehow or another, Bill beats us all into the chat. I'm pretty sure he's definitely got that working well for him. Definitely. But links in the description first and foremost. Our friends over at Shooters and Prospectors, our friends at XTREME Scoops, our friends at DETECTEES.com. Ken, Mark, Darth, Buddy, and the gang doing a great job, not only with the Beyond Sight and Sound apparel, but with the Dirt Pirates apparel as well. Then we've got our links to our friends over at XP Team USA, Facebook group, podcast, website, blog articles, all of that. You can find their YouTube channel through those links as well. All you got to do is look around a little bit or search YouTube for XP Team USA. Then below that, we have got just an absolute slew of links for what will be different topics that we will be discussing tonight. So we've got a slew of links there, quite a few, You can find those in the description of the show tonight, or if it's easier for people to follow, you can also find these links over in a post on the Metal Detecting Beyond Sight and Sound Facebook group. Just scroll down the page. It should only be a few posts into the group where Barb made a post yesterday with those links. So we've got them in the description of the show as well, so you can follow from either area. And I'm sure Bill or somebody can also share those links in the chat, or who knows, maybe Barb even can as well, since she's in the chat, as those links are becoming relevant to the discussion and the conversation. Also, we have the links to the Dirt Pirates Detecting Facebook group, almost 3,200 members over there. Good grief, she's been adding people like Cordwood. The Dirt Pirates upcoming events Facebook group as well. Those of you that follow the show, you've heard us speak about it in the past. So there's a link over there in case anyone's having problems finding that group on Facebook, which I'm not sure how you can have problems finding it. I'm sure we have discussed it on a number of occasions, and I'm sure that people have probably even shared the link in the chat on prior occasions. So, with all of that being said, obviously, for those that follow the show, they know that we do the field safety and medical awareness shows a couple of times a year. Other shows may touch on different topics in passing, but Beyond Sight and Sound has been, and so far continues to be, the only show out there that will dedicate entire episodes to the topic of field safety and medical awareness. Also, even though we have touched on it in the past, both here, other shows, whatever, what have you, Beyond Sight and Sound, myself, Barb, Bill in the chat, a number of us have been very, very huge advocates on Lyme's awareness. It is a very serious topic. It is a very important topic. And it's a topic that more and more people are getting involved with due to the spread of ticks and Lymes. So obviously, with another field safety medical awareness show, we will be covering the topic of Lymes once again a little bit, because there is new information out there. And even if there's not, that's something that a lot of people, out of sight, out of mind, you have to stay vigilant. Because even those of us that are constantly trying to watch, I personally know people that they're constantly trying to be vigilant about it, but yet somehow something happens and they get bit, or they do wind up having to deal with Lyme's, and it is a very, very serious disorder. That's why we cover it the way we do. And for those who have seen the promo for the show tonight, obviously we did mention in the promo that this is the spring 2019 Field Safety Medical Awareness Show. Those of you that follow, you know we do these. Usually we'll try to dedicate episodes at least twice a year. It seems like we'd like to do one sometime in the spring, sometime in the fall. And for a number of those, we have had Barb along with us, because when it comes to this arena of discussion, those of you that know Barb know that she definitely knows her stuff on these topics, and that's one of the reasons why it takes a while to put these field safety and medical awareness shows together, because we try to bring the most accurate and updated information to the table that we can. So in that aspect, Barb has to have time to do everything that she already does in her normal life, plus juggle time in to try and do these different sort of bits of research so that she can bring you the most up-to-date, accurate information, or even, in some cases like tonight, could be very surprising, very shocking, even somewhat disturbing for some people. So with all of that being said, I don't think I'm going to have to do a whole lot of talking this show because Barb has a lot of information, so let's get her in. How is it going, Barb? Thanks for sitting down with us again tonight.
Going good. Little hoarse. I've had sore throat last couple days. I took some steroids, which are a good thing to have on hand for many of the topics we're going to talk about tonight.
Nice.
Because they are anti-inflammatory. They reduce swelling, inflammation, which you can get from all kinds of good stuff out there today.
They make me eat Twinkies.
I took one too late last night. I usually take it and go to bed, and I guess I took it early. I was wound up at 1:30 this morning. I was like, can I please?
Yes, you were.
I was like, this is not good. And I only slept like 5 hours and was up and was like, oh, not good.
Right. Absolutely. But you do sound like you're feeling much better than you were. I mean, because we had it wasn't like it was a lot of discussion. I mean, I basically put the offer out there and you said, no, I'm good. We're not rescheduling the show. We're doing this.
Well, because I hate to say this, I start my research and I kind of just piddle in it and just kind of browse and don't, make a few notes. But that week before, I go back to every single place that I've visited. I bookmark them all on my computer so I can go back, double-check my stats, take notes. And so it's better to do it. I'm one of these people, I have to read it, absorb it, and then it's in my brain and I can talk about it.
Right. I want to do it while it's fresh in the mind before it gets pushed out.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to hit the big 6-0 this year. So, the brain just ain't quite as fresh as it was when you were 19.
Well, that's all right. I'm sure a number of us in the chat would agree, too, that you don't have to wait for the big 6-0 for that to happen.
No, you don't. No, you don't. But
some of us, the brain's not working so sharp as it is.
I think what's the most interesting thing we'll talk about, and I'm going to save Lyme for last, because I found something really weird I'd never heard of, found it by accident, and was like, what the heck? It freaked me out.
Yeah, I know. Some of this information could be shocking, surprising, disturbing, and may not necessarily be for the faint of heart.
Yeah, and just for those that don't know me, I know most of the folks in the chat that come regularly know
right.
me.
Rundown of credentials.
Yeah, Nelson's in the house.
Welcome.
Nobody knew nothing about medical except what I watched on TV. Emergency One, if you are old enough, you'll remember that show. And in 1978 or 9, my dad decided to have the big, massive heart attack at home. And I did CPR on him, and my grandmother gave him mouth-to-mouth, and I went to EMT school a month later and said, if he's going to do this crap again, I'm going to know what the heck I'm doing.
Right, I'm going to be ready.
So I worked volunteer ambulance in Massachusetts for a couple of years. I then went to Valencia Community College in Orlando, Florida, which is one of the top 10 accredited schools, community colleges in the country, and got my paramedic degree. And I didn't go to work as a medic, but that knowledge is still with me. I can even see the pages on the book. I actually went to work for a trauma center, driving a neonatal ambulance for many years, and finally decided I needed a job that paid money, so I went back to nursing school in 90, and graduated in 92. I have 11 and a half years of ICU experience, about 3 years of emergency room experience, 2 years of oncology, hematology, working with AIDS patients, and I now work at a nursing home, and I freaking love it.
So, needless to say, I mean, you're talking 1979 through 1992, here we are, 2019. I think it's very, very safe to say that you are more than qualified to speak on these topics of field safety and medical awareness, not just from a medical standpoint, but also from the standpoint as a digger and someone who has personally real-life experience with lines.
Exactly. And I actually had always said I would never, I was one of those ADN, 2-year degree nurses that said I don't need any more education. And when I decided to go back to school, I got my bachelor's in nursing in 2003 and my master's in nursing education in 2006. So I have taught just about every single topic a nurse could run into in the 12 years that I worked as an educator and a program director of nursing.
Right, which is why when we do these field safety and medical awareness shows, we love to have you on board. Always an asset.
Well, I appreciate it, and I don't know everything, and it's why I do research. Anybody that doesn't do research coming on a show is absolutely crazy, because the statistics, diseases, infectious rates, hazards, I mean, it all changes overnight, as medicine does. I mean,
alarmingly at sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be, just think, when I moved here in 94, you had your gallbladder out, you stayed 3 days in the hospital. Now they boot you to the curb 3 hours after you get out of the OR. Yeah,
anymore it's, with the insurance companies and everything that are involved, I guess, it's pretty much an assembly line process. Move them in, move them out, get them moving. Quick, quick, quick.
Actually, what people don't realize is that everything is based on Medicare. And Medicare sets the standard for your medical insurance, and most people don't realize that. In the 70s, Medicare, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid, came up with what's called DRGs, drug-related groups, and that is how they decide to pay you. And so pneumonia, you get $1,500. And these numbers aren't exact. Don't hold me to them. I'm just pulling them out of the air to make a point. Pneumonia, $1,500. A gallbladder, say $800. It's probably more than that. But you go in to get your gallbladder, they nick something, you end up in the ICU on a vent with pneumonia. Guess what? They only pay for that gallbladder. They don't pay for anything else. The hospital eats the rest of it because, oh, well, too bad, it's your fault. So insurance companies have modeled that. So if Medicare says your butt should be out in that day, unless you have extenuating disease processes that warrant you being kept overnight, Blue Cross Blue Shield or Humana, whoever else you have, follows those guidelines, and they're going to boot your butt to the curb right along with Medicare.
Right. Not only do they follow them, they follow them like gospel. I mean, it's to the T. No excuse, no exception.
I had a patient in the ICU who was on a vent with a chest tube, and we took him off the vent. We pulled his chest tube. He crashed and burned, ended up back on a ventilator, back with the chest tube. And Blue Cross and Blue Shield called every day, and the case manager, we'd like, they're on the phone, it's your patient, can you talk to him again? Why is he still there? They don't want to pay. Why is he still there? I said, he's got a tube down his freaking throat, and they don't do that on the floor.
Right.
And when we pulled the tube, they were like, how come you haven't moved him out? And I'm like, well, remember when we did that the other day and he crashed and burned? We thought we'd keep him here for a day just in case. And they went, okay, good idea. We'll pay one more day.
Yeah.
So if you're mad at your insurance, get mad at Medicare because they set the standard, and that's just another medical FYI for you.
Right. Absolutely, I would have to agree, and I'm sure that you see there are a number of comments in the chat saying, yep, She's definitely qualified to talk about this stuff.
And I can tell you, I've seen it all from people that have taken their own life. The ED, 3 people in one Thanksgiving weekend, that was time for me to move on and find something else to do because the holidays are depressing for everyone.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I would have to agree. That does tend to bring everyone down. Welcome to Roger from the Dayton Diggers.
Oh, God. Bill said, I still love the story of how she got out of the field when she put the shovel through her foot, cauterized it with the rifle casing like Rambo. No, I wrapped it with my bandana, so those of you that don't wear one, you might want to carry one. It is a good tourniquet. It's good for pressure dressing. Because you can tie it and knot it. I did not cauterize it. I bandanaed it and went to the urgent care.
Or even a good supply of paracord can come in handy for situations like that, too.
Bob, I love you. He thought of me the other night when he got 3 inches. You're a sweetheart. Send me one, Bob.
Wow. Well, so, what do you do?
Well, the first thing I want to talk about is something crazy. Has anyone heard of tree wells?
That is vaguely familiar to me.
I'm not sure if anyone in the chat, though, has heard much about them.
They also call them spruce traps. And I seen one on the Weather Channel. I watch those I Survive when there's nothing else on because they're great. And they're actually in the biggest states, Nevada, Montana, and Oregon, and the British Columbia have had, no, they're not hollow trees, Bill. They've actually had tons of them. I mean, hundreds of them. I read one story where, like, 3 people in one weekend, poof. Some of these people they're not finding until, like, spring. What happens is, yes, it's the deep snow around the base of the tree, but it's actually not the deep snow. What happens is the snow around the tree melts and makes a well. And so if that snow's 20 feet deep, that hole could be 20 feet deep.
Right.
Because the tree warms up during the day, it melts the snow around it, and you actually get a well around the tree, and people come skiing, and they get off the thing, and they get close to one of these trees, and they fall in the tree well, and there's no way to get out of them.
Pretty scary.
Yeah. They are the largest non-avalanche-related snow immersion death.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and so that's just a tidbit for all you people that like to ski. Stay away from the freaking trees.
Yeah, right. Look out, snow bunnies.
Yeah, I was like, I don't ski, thank God, because it would be my luck. I would fall in one of them. But the last story I read, they actually found the person like 5 months, 6 months later.
Right. And, I mean, let's face it, by that time, you're beyond help.
Mark, we don't have that problem in Florida. No, you have alligators. Do they have crocodiles too, or just alligators?
Either way, you're talking about a multi-terrain creature, basically, that can reach a land speed of 35 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I can't run from one of them. I'm going to have to turn around and fight, because I can't even run faster than the next guy.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I seen on Facebook, and it was a true story because I clicked over, and it was somebody found a prosthetic leg, I think Panama City. It was in the Panhandle.
Yeah, Tam posted that, actually, I think. Posted that article in the Metal Detecting Beyond Sight and Sound group.
Yeah, and they were contacting the company via the serial number, and to this day I'm still like, okay, Was he out swimming with his leg? Did he fall overboard? Did a crocodile, a shark, or something eat him and spit the leg out? I was like, people were laughing, but I was like, ooh, this could be a really gruesome outcome here.
Right, yeah. And you never know. It is Florida. It could have been a roving band of homeless people.
Yeah, you don't know. But something else that I hadn't thought of, I just Googled natural hazards, things, and just trying to look at things. We all know open wells, but I'm going to tell you, if you watch some of Stealth Diggers videos, which I love those guys, their videos, most of the time are good, some of them are not so good. But you can be walking and not even see a well. Some of those old New England wells, just if you're not paying attention, you could be down one really, really quick.
Oh, yeah. It only takes a second for something to go wrong. And especially in that scenario, say you're up there, New Hampshire, even Pennsylvania, some of the areas like that where you're doing a lot of woods hunting and you do run across an open well, you're a long way from home if something goes wrong, and sometimes cell phone service is really sketchy. That's one of the reasons why, for those in that area, I do recommend it. It's only a little bit of time, a little bit of money and effort. Get yourself an amateur radio license, program it properly, and carry it with you,
and
just in case.
And let somebody know where the heck you're going. I always let somebody, I'm going hunting, I'm like, this is where I'm going, you know?
Yeah, I mean...
Putting a shovel in my foot, you know?
Right. Search and rescue teams do a very, very exceptional job at what they do, and kudos to all of them that are out there doing what they do. But they can't come and help you if no one knows where you're at.
Exactly, and I 98% of the time dig alone. You know, Mark's saying that's why you dig with someone else. Well, I don't have someone else, so you know, I have people that let's go digging, and then you don't ever hear from them. You know,
right?
So
and what happens if you already fed them to the alligator, and then you wind up injuring yourself? You know,
exactly. So if you hunt alone. I can tell you the same thing with, he said last year we had 3 people who had heart attacks that were saved by their digging buddies. Oh, you see that on Facebook all the time. The thing is, I know hunters that have gone out hunting alone and were found at the base of a tree. They sat down and had the big one and died. A good friend of mine had that happen. So it isn't just metal detecting, it's any type of hobby you're going to go do, whether it's hiking, skiing, hunting, you should have somebody with you.
Right. Be aware of your elements, your environment, and I mean, people who go out ill-prepared, just in general, you're in trouble. No matter what the environment or elements are, you're in trouble. Knowledge is king. You know what you're doing, be prepared. Let people know what you're doing. It's always good to have a contingency plan in place.
Steve, you're not funny. He thinks he's funny, but that's not funny. But honestly, if you go out alone like me, I always let someone know where I'm going, how long I'm going to be gone, and I try to check in if I'm going to be gone longer, you know. My mom usually calls me. You still out? Yeah, Mom, I'm still out, but I'm headed home, you know.
Right. Yeah, it may seem like an inconvenience or something. You're out there, somebody's calling you, hey, you about done, or you heading back soon, or whatever. If it seems like an inconvenience, it's only minor. I mean, they're trying to keep track of you.
Yeah, and the thing, everyone can laugh about me putting the shovel through my foot. I did a fine job at it.
Well, at least you did it upright.
The thing is at the lumber company, I may or may not have cell service, And there are many a days I don't, that I can't even go live. And that's why you get videos. I got videos to put together. I haven't, because my lovely boony internet and my wonderful Verizon boony cell phone service.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
It's something that we all think of poison ivy and poison oak and poison sumac. That isn't around here so much. I hate gloves. I hate to wear them. I normally don't in the summertime because I can see the poison ivy, but in the winter, when I go to DIV, I always wear my gloves. And I know more people that don't and end up with poison ivy or poison oak because they're digging in the dirt, they're handling the roots, and they don't realize, yeah, the plant is dormant, but there's still sap in the roots, and you will get it.
Yes, you will. A little over 10 years ago, we had a big group hunt that was in the spring that, the ground cover's just starting to come up. You really couldn't see the leaves on some of the plants yet. And I'll bet you at least a third of the almost 100 people that attended came up with poison ivy, poison oak, something like that, exactly because of that reason.
Bill, your comment, I don't want to say showed your ignorance, but I didn't have cell service 20 years ago either. We managed to live, yeah, but we had we had a freaking phone booth every couple of blocks, I mean, I had a phone booth down at the end of my road until maybe 9-10 years ago. So if my phone went out, I drove less than a mile and I put a dime in and reached out and touched someone,
Now you can't even hardly find a phone booth, period.
I know. I want to put one at the bottom of my driveway. I'll bet I could make lots of money because cell service up here sucks.
There you go.
I love you, Bill. I wanted to say about poison ivy, and I've always heard, never burn it, but I hadn't really conceptualized why. And
oh, yes. That is a very, very bad idea. Actually, we had a friend of the family years ago that there was a large gathering place in the area that they collected a lot of poison ivy and burn it. And she was downwind from it, so that smoke's coming across. And unfortunately, she had a glass eye, and that smoke had irritated all of that behind that glass eye, and she wound up getting poison ivy from the smoke.
Yeah. The bad thing about it is if you breathe it in, think about what it does to your skin. That's pretty tough.
Look at what it does to all that tender tissue then.
Yeah, you end up getting poison ivy inside your lungs and getting those pustules. And what happens is your white blood cells, and this is what people don't realize about white blood cells. You go to the doctor, they do your blood, and your white blood cell count is like 4,000 to 11,000, 12,000, depending on your lab. And
right.
So you get something bad. You get an infection. You get poison ivy. You have an outbreak of your RA, your rheumatoid arthritis, whatever, and your white count goes up. Well, people think, I made more white cells. No, you didn't. Your white cells, this is how I teach it to students. I draw like a tube, and I put all these little people against the walls of the tube. Well, those are your white cells, and they are called monocytes. They're not moving. But the minute your body's invaded by something, they turn into macrophages, which means they're moving. They have left the lining of the blood vessels, and they are like little Pac-Man in your bloodstream, and they are hunting for what is going on in your body. So where do they go if you breathe in poison ivy? They go to your lungs, and they start eating all that poison ivy junk, and when they eat lots of it, they blow up and they become pus and all kinds of good junk. So you're going to end up on a vent if you breathe this stuff in because you're going to have so much inflammation. So be smart. You know, the best thing you can do is pull it up, put it in a pile in the sun, and just let Mother Nature kill it. It will die.
Right.
Don't burn it.
And especially if they're a listener that has a compromised immune system to begin with, they're going to get in that situation a whole lot faster.
And that's it. And we have a lot of you, Bill.
Right.
A lot of us, me, a lot of things that can really set things up. West Nile, nothing new there, except that 48 out of 50 states have confirmed cases. However, everybody is recovering from it. So if you got to get something, that's probably something to get.
That's pretty bad when the lesser of the evils is West Nile.
Excuse me. So you're probably wondering why I gave you so many links. I put the Connecticut one there because Connecticut actually is claiming to be ground zero for Lyme.
Well,
Excuse me.
Isn't that interesting?
And they're not. Actually,
No.
Cape Cod is. Actually, not Cape Cod, but the Elizabeth Islands, which Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket are part of, No Man's Land, Nashawn. I can't remember the one that had the leper colony, but they're all part of the Elizabeth Islands. They are actually ground zero, and if you look at the stats, it's unbelievable. However, the one state I don't want to move to, and I think it's just because it's so much bigger, I think actually cases per 100,000, it's less than Massachusetts. But if you look at the map and the number of cases, the state's like 5 times the size of Massachusetts. Pennsylvania had, I think, 10,000 cases in 2017.
Wow. And that wasn't all that long ago, necessarily.
Oh, and what, 9,250 cases. And this is what sucks. The 2018 data is not available. How can that be? We're almost in June.
Right. Well, and I guess in that aspect, it's much like anything else, like some of these price guides that you see, even though it may be dated, say, for example, this year, they say, oh, this is a 2019 price guide, but it takes time to compile this information. So really the prices that you're seeing in the price guide could be from mid-2017 to 2018, and then it took them another 6 or 8 months to compile the information.
And it shouldn't be, because with technology, you log in, you report it, the stats should all be there.
Yeah, you should have, theoretically, the day and age that we're in, the technology that we have, you should essentially have real-time reporting and statistics.
Yeah, and Mark is like, I bought some Cipro in Mexico. Well, one, I hope you bought it in the U.S. and not Mexico.
Right.
But Cipro only kills certain things.
Good point.
And I'm going to tell you what, misappropriation of antibiotics is increased the number of drug-resistant bacteria in our community because people get antibiotics. My mom, I think I'll take your dad's Z-Pack. No, Mom, don't do that. If you get a script, you need to take it all. And, I'm coming down with something. I'm going to take 2 or 3 days of antibiotics. Well, if you do have something and you stop, now you just made a drug-resistant bacteria.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty of superbugs out there already as it is. I mean, anymore, people get sick. It's not like it used to be where you were sick and, I'll drink some orange juice or something. I'll be fine in a couple of days or in the morning. It hangs in there for weeks. It takes forever to beat it.
Exactly. And probably sorry, I had a coughing thing. One of the most troubling things that I read this week is that as of 2016, Massachusetts decided they didn't need to report their cases to the CDC on Lyme disease.
And that is very disturbing.
And I couldn't find any other states that also did that. But I'm like, what the heck are you doing?
Exactly.
So if I'm a traveler and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go to Massachusetts, I'm not from there, it's not me, it's someone else. And then I'm like, oh, they have such a low probability of getting Lyme disease in Massachusetts. Look at the map. And the reason I put the provider handout in those links, which I think was the first link.
Yeah.
If you go to CDC and you pull up the prevalence map, which I included that link, Massachusetts is almost white except for Cape Cod. It's purple.
Right.
But if you go to the Massachusetts book or the provider handbook on all the tick diseases, which there are so many, and some of them are worse than Lyme, people, Massachusetts is purpled out from end to end. I mean, there are no white specks on that map at all. So to me, the state, it's like, are they trying to hide it?
Exactly. You almost wonder if it's a tourism revenue thing or what. But still, like we were saying before, be aware of your elements, your environment. Knowledge is king. When you can't get the proper information, how can you be prepared?
And between 2009 and 2013, Mass had 25,000 cases, and between 2012 and 2016, they had 26,000. So their 5-year average, 4 to 5 year average, is 25,000 cases, and they're not reporting it to the CDC. If you go to the CDC, the last data they have is 2017. Massachusetts has reported 321 cases.
Right. Now, run those numbers again. Look at that discrepancy. We're talking tens of thousands of cases.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a huge discrepancy.
I was so shocked. I was like, you really are massholes now. And I'm from there, so I can say that. But I'm like, what is the CDC thinking? How can state law outlaw federal law? The CDC,
how can that supersede?
If the CDC is federal, so how can any state say, we've decided we're going to keep our own numbers and keep them from the CDC, but yet they reported 321 cases for the year after that law came in effect. And so to me, by doing that, they're really scamming the American public, and not only American, other countries, by falsely saying how many cases they've had.
Right, it's like number manipulation or something. But even more disturbingly is it's not just any state. We're talking about Massachusetts. We're talking about, Martha's Vineyard, Cape Cod, ground zero for Lymes.
It's ground zero, and they're lying and holding back statistics.
That's disturbing.
It is very disturbing. And Pennsylvania, they had 10,000 cases in 2017. That floored me. And that's why Ohio is now on the rise. And if you go to the Ohio site, it's telling you the percent of increase because it's just bleeding over from Pennsylvania and knocking on your door, guys.
Yeah. And, let's see. I believe one of the links that you shared was on Ohio. And for people who think that ticks and limes aren't an issue in Ohio, or even for those that think ticks and limes are only an issue in Ohio, if you're in southern Ohio, you couldn't be any further from the truth. If I remember right, the link that you shared even specifically states that now more than 3/4 of the 88 counties in Ohio have an issue with limes and ticks.
Exactly. And I knew we had a lot of Ohio people, and that's why I went there. I wish I could have gone to more states. Here's an interesting fact on Hawaii. They've never had a case of Lyme, but they now have one verified case travel-related. So I don't know if that means somebody caught it elsewhere and got diagnosed in Hawaii, or they left Hawaii and got it somewhere else and came back and got diagnosed. They don't tell you that.
And I guess I would have to go with the train of thought that they had traveled somewhere and got it and were diagnosed when they came back home. Much like with yourself, you're probably a North Carolina statistic rather than a Massachusetts statistic.
Yeah, unfortunately, and I should be a Massachusetts statistic.
Well, at least you're a statistic now, though. If you were in Massachusetts, who knows?
The other thing is I did have a bullseye, and it was a very distinct bullseye. It was perfect. And the uneducated in this state, it took me 4 healthcare providers to convince one it was a freaking bullseye. And by that time, the bullseye was gone, but I had my phone going, look, it's a bullseye. The phone is tipped. It's kind of hard to selfie your hip.
Right.
It was on the edge of my buttocks on the side, and trying to do a selfie, your phone isn't going to line up. And that provider only treated me just in case.
Wow. Well, and I can see, too, a lot of providers, they probably leap to the conclusion of, oh, well, we don't have any issues with limes around here, but that doesn't mean that's where you were bitten.
I told them I'd been in and out of Massachusetts 3 times that summer for deaths in the family. I had gone metal detecting in the woods, didn't give it a thought, and I knew it was Lyme just from the way I was feeling. And even my personal provider said, we've treated a couple people with Lyme recently, and that's not a bullseye. And I was like, shut the effing front door.
Right. And this is coming from, your personal provider. Your personal provider knows who you are. They know you have a medical background, an education. You know what you're talking about. And you had to fight to get diagnosed. How do you think it is for some of the other people, like Bill, for example?
I've known my provider since 1994. I've been a patient of hers probably since 97. And she's had to go, and it ain't. And I'm like, it is. Will you treat me? No. I had to go to ED, $1,000 out of pocket. And I'm like, just freaking treat me. I'm on all these other antibiotics, and I'm freaking dying.
Right. I'm running out of time, folks.
And Bill had to fight to get tested, too.
Yes, he did.
And thank God for him listening to your show. He called me and said, I think I got that. And I'm like, yeah, it sounds like you.
Exactly.
But and we know Lyme is on the rise. We know because if you go back and look at those maps that are purple and white, and you look at the 2017 one, there were 42,743 confirmed and probable cases. Now, the probable, I don't know why they're saying probable, but every statistic you look at on every state CDC, it says confirmed, probable.
Right.
Well, did they not do the blood work, or were the titers not high enough? They don't give you enough information, but the CDC counts all the probable. I don't know. To me, you either got it or you don't freaking got it.
Absolutely. I would have to agree. And, I mean, we know from the past shows and even related personal experiences by others and things of that nature, it's not like it's a lot of guesswork. There are tests that they can run.
They're expensive, and so I'm sure if people don't have insurance, they're going to say, no, I can't afford, $1,000 to get tested.
Well, that's true.
This is the stat that's going to kill you from the CDC, that because some people don't probably have good immune systems, or maybe they get it and they get put on antibiotics for something else, they don't get, or maybe they go through 5 different antibiotics before they feel better. But the CDC actually feels that there are over 300,000 cases per year.
That's scary. But it does happen, because look at how many people, I mean, I hate to keep pointing him out there, but a good case in point would be Bill.
Absolutely. I mean, Bill felt like crap for, 20 years?
At least 12.
I talked about it, and he finally got tested. He called me and went, yeah, I'm positive. The bad thing is the longer it takes you to get diagnosed,
the more trouble you could be in.
The more side effects that you're going to have long-term from the disease.
Right, from the long-term exposure.
Yeah. Somewhere in this mess, the early signs and symptoms of untreated fever, rash, facial paralysis, and arthritis and joint pain.
Right.
Long term, and the rash, it depends which web page. I think the CDC says that only 66% of the folks get the erythema rash. So if you are out, you pull a tick off yourself, and you start feeling like you just want to lay down, you just want to go to sleep, your brain ain't functioning, you ache all over, you just feel like crap, so get tested for Lyme.
Right. And it sounds like we were right. It was right around 12 years. But Bill happens to ask what you may have found, and hopefully that doesn't jump you ahead or take you off track, what you may have found as far as the relationship of long-term exposure, those that have had to deal with Lyme's for quite some time, what that relationship or ratio is to those who have dealt with it and now have RA.
I have looked and looked and looked and looked, and they only link it to arthritis. No one is saying rheumatoid arthritis.
Right, so they don't break it down. It's just, yes, so many people have arthritic conditions due to long-term exposure.
And a lot of the research I did, they didn't show that as side effects or long-term, but that was why I posted the provider pamphlet, which is for doctors, because it does talk about the arthritis and the joint pain of untreated and what phase it comes in the disease.
Right. And, I mean, we know it ties to Lyme's for, well, at least in my experience of the people that I have spoken with that do deal with Lyme's, we know it ties to it because I've heard on more than one occasion from more than one person the same kind of scenario, situation, and issues where they're like, oh, my joints just ache. I've got arthritis now, whether they've been diagnosed with RA or it's just, your average run-of-the-mill arthritis or whatever. And it's not like it, for some of those, it's not even like it affects them every day. They may have some great days for a while. And then all of a sudden they just wake up one day and it's right there again. Bam, in your face.
Oh, absolutely. The big thing is rheumatoid arthritis is very cyclic, and if Bill will pay attention, if he's in the big high on the pressure gradient, and
right,
you feel a lot better. Once you hit the low with the storms and all that, that's when you are not going to do so well.
Exactly.
But nobody would say that it is related to RA. But when you look at the other things, you can have facial palsy, which is like numbness, drooping. You can have, what was the other one? Inflammation of the spinal cord, brain, nerve pain, numbness, tingling, hands, feet, which I have all the time, and problems with short-term memory, so we can blame it to Lyme's and not dementia.
Right, yeah. And realistically, another thing that kind of makes it so difficult to diagnose sometimes, or to get the doctors to listen, is because these same symptoms you're describing, there's many other disorders out there that are, I guess for lack of a better term, a mimicker. Because even in my particular situation, when they were trying to figure out what was going on with me, they were running tests across the board. I mean, they tested me for West Nile, they tested me for Lyme's, they tested me for this, that, and the other. They tested me for things that the people pulling the blood hadn't even seen tests like that before, going, I'm not sure what they're looking for.
Well, fibromyalgia is one of those things. People get that label because there's no other label to put it to, and you've got X amount of, I think it's 4 out of the 12 symptoms.
Yeah, you have to have so many qualifiers.
We give you that disease because we don't know what the heck you got. So it's now called fibromyalgia. And we know you got something. It's autoimmune. You got all these signs and symptoms, so we have to give you a label, and that's how they came up with that. But it is a shame because the bad thing about Lyme is most people think, I take doxycycline, I'm good. Well, one, the ER gave me 10 days, and when I went to my doctor, she's like, okay, well, you're being treated, you're good. And I'm like, Doc, I'm like, Beth, I believe it's a 21-day course, and I got 10 days, and I'm almost out. She had to go look. She goes, I'll be back. I got to go look it up. I mean, she was honest with me, and she went and looked it up, and guess what? I was right. She was wrong, and she had to write me a script for 2 more weeks.
Well, see, and that's where, the knowledge or research that you had done definitely helped, because for just the average person out there, if their doctor would have told them, oh, well, you're being treated, you're good, how would they have been any the wiser?
This is the thing. I want someone besides Bill, to answer this question. The drug of choice, and there is no other antibiotic, is doxycycline. So how does doxycycline cure Lyme disease?
Well, either my chat locked up or they're still thinking, and I don't have any Jeopardy music to play.
Well, the thing is it doesn't. Doxycycline does not kill the Lyme disease virus. bacteria. It's a bacteria, sorry. It doesn't. It stops it from reproducing. Actually, yes.
There you go. Congratulations, Mark.
No, it doesn't stop it from reproducing. It stops it from replicating. Okay? It's one of those things. It's kind of like the HIV virus. You get one, it gets into your cell, it makes another one. Well, that's kind of how it works. You have this bacteria, it goes through osmosis, and it makes another one.
Right, so it's using your body as the community copy machine.
Yeah, you're the host, it's the vector, and it uses your body to make more. It's not really reproducing. It's not having babies. It's splitting.
Right. One of them little buggers is in there going, load the tray. We can do another 200 copies.
Yeah. And so it's replicating itself over and over. And so the doxycycline takes that away from the bacteria. So if you've got this bacteria load of 10,000 and you get doxycycline, it's got to touch all those 10,000 to get them not to replicate and make more. And so you have to, your body ends up having to kill them.
Right. So basically, the doxycycline is pulling the plug on the Xerox so that your body can hopefully fight what has shown up.
And Bill put, the bacteria from Lyme is similar to syphilis under a microscope and can outswim your white blood cells and drill into soft tissues to escape. Unfortunately, if you develop a Lyme rash, which I did, 10 days after I became symptomatic, it also mimics a syphilis rash. So I can say I am syphilis-free. They did test me.
There again, mimickers.
They didn't tell me they were testing me, but they did. And it was embarrassing to be on speakerphone in class, and I went, ooh, my Lyme disease test is back today. And I called the director of the ED and put her on speakerphone and said, is my Lyme disease back? And she goes, I was just going to call you. The good thing is your syphilis is negative. And I'm like, you really didn't test me for syphilis. And she goes, oh, no, I just tell everybody that it's a joke. Well, and then she goes, but your Lyme is positive. Well, a week later, I ran into the nurse practitioner who treated me in the ED. I said, did you really test me for syphilis and not tell me? She goes, yes, I really did.
Yeah, I'm sure the class loved that.
Oh, actually, because they were such good students, we were in lab and they all had their laptops and they were pulling up. I said I had a rash and they kept coming in and looking at my rash and making me take my socks off and my feet were free. I was chilled. I was so cold. And they took my socks off 3 times. I told them, you take them off one more time, I'm going to kill you. And remember, this is like September, and it's like 90 degrees, and I'm freezing. So my students Googled it, and the difference between a Lyme rash and a syphilis rash is syphilis covers your palms and your soles of your feet, and Lyme does not.
Nice. Well, at least there's a difference then. For that way, some people can tell and get a little bit of an idea on which direction things are going for them. Welcome to Matt, by the way, joining us in the chat.
Well, I guess I had 1 or 2 little teeny rash, whatever you call a single rash. I don't know. There's so many different, whether they're raised or maculopapular, whatever. But I guess I had enough just on the borders that they said, since we're sending stuff out, let's just do it all and make sure she don't have that too. Right.
Yeah, I mean, because when they start running these tests, you know, a lot of it is a process of elimination.
It is, and the thing is, they use the ELISA and they use the other one that they use them for HIV/AIDS. They use them for syphilis. And so
Right.
Yeah, you can have all kinds of things. We use metal detectors, and I know we have some detectors folks that are on chemotherapy. A lot of those medications, not only chemo, there's other ones. Antibiotics are the worst, and doxycycline that we treat Lyme disease with is one of the biggest drugs that has a photosensitivity aspect. And depending on the person, everyone's different. I have darker skin than Bill. You can end up with just a rash, blisters, sunburn, or you can end up with your skin peeling off from some of those drugs. And tetracycline, doxycycline, your antifungals like diflucan, amiodarone, which a lot of our cardiac folks are on, hydrochlorothiazide, it's an antidiuretic, naproxen, Aleve. What's the other big one? Your chemo's 5-FU, methotrexate, which is an RA drug on top of a chemotherapeutic drug. And adriamycin and vinblastine all have high photosensitivity. So if you're on those drugs and you're a digger, you need to be wearing sunscreen, wearing protection, and seeing how it's going to affect you.
Right. Absolutely. And for those of us that are, or I guess for those listeners, whether it's now, the archive, whatever, what are some of the things that they can do to help them be able to spend more time out in the field if they're on those sorts of medications?
Get long sleeve clothes that are really light. They don't have to be,
Detectors makes a nice light long sleeve shirt.
Yeah, really light, long sleeve, light gloves. They don't have to be thick. You can wear shorts, but put some sunscreen on, or wear boots, or wear, I love my camis that I got at the, hey, baby, my dog, the Army Surplus store. I love them because of the pockets, and I love them because they're so lightweight, and even in the summer, you're not dying with having pants on.
Right. That's a good point.
So there are lightweight clothes out there that you can wear to protect you from the sun in the summertime.
Right. Or even the brimmed hats, like a boonie hat, something like that, help keep it off your face. If the clothes are making you too hot in the sun, too, you've always got the option of the cooling wraps or vests.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to mention is a lot of guys like to wear ball caps. Think about your neck.
Right. The brim's great for covering, keeping the sun out of your eyes, but not so much for the back of your neck.
Exactly. And for those folks up in the tick states, I went and bought the permethrin socks. I sent a pair to Bill Hayes. I think he won them on your auction. They have permethrin in them. And I haven't washed mine yet. That may sound gross. I think I've worn them. My feet don't stink.
Okay.
But I haven't worn them in, hot weather. I've worn them, at DIV when it's we're kinda, but not kinda, in that window. I've probably worn them 5 times. I do wear them out. But I haven't washed them because you only get 32 washes, and then you just have socks.
Right. Good point. When people, because permethrin is a great defense for treating your clothing, But you got to read the instructions. You know, it's not like an impenetrable armor. It does wear out. You've got to, retreat the clothing. I imagine once you've washed the socks so many times, you could always go ahead and spray them down with permethrin again, kind of renew. Who knows if it works as well as purchasing them brand new, and I'm sure they don't cost necessarily all that much. But it still doesn't change the fact that you do have to renew these protective aids. Don't last forever.
Bill has washed his socks twice. Well, I'm ashamed, Bill. But I can tell you, the thing is wearing the socks, you got to wear them right. You got to put them over your pant bottoms. You can't have your pants hanging over them on your boots. You got to look geeky and tuck your pants or wear shorts with them for them to work.
Right.
And I bought them on Martha's Vineyard. I could have bought them cheaper. They were $16 for a 2-pack.
Well, yeah, so if you bought them on the Vineyard, I'm sure you could have found them cheaper somewhere else.
Yeah, I bought them, and then I never wore them. Oh, actually, I bought them after I got the Lyme disease. When I went back the next time, I picked them up.
Right, because it was fresh in your mind then.
Yeah, and I bought 2 packs of them, and then I gave Bill one of them, and I forget who else won them, but they were the first things grabbed up. They were like, nope, I'll take the socks. I'm like, okay.
Right. You can't blame them for that.
I know we've carried on a little bit, but there was something else, and I think I shared this map. If not, I'm sorry. It's confirmed cases by month of disease onset. This was kind of scary because, yes, the summer is the month, but if you look at, and this is 2001 to 2017.
That did surprise me because, like you said, the summer, yeah, obviously it's going to be the hectic, the higher counts, I guess you could say. But really, there weren't. I mean, there was activity on any given month. That's
17 years of data. And so in January, there was like almost 3,000 cases for January. Right. And about the same for February and December. March bumped up a little. April was up to about 5,000. May jumped up to almost 15,000. June is up to 50,000. July's like 53. August, it dropped. And it must be because of the phase they're going through that it's like July, boom. August, we're down to 20, from 50,000 down to 20,000. And then it tapers. September is about 12. October, about 11. November is about 8,000. So you really have the potential to get it any dang month.
Right. Any time of the year.
Any time of the year, folks. So, and then if you look at ages, I love this one. They did a really
floored
good graph. Yeah, I kept sharing these graphs with Josh one night. I just kept sharing, going, check this out. You wouldn't believe this. And I'm like, he's probably thinking, God, will she go away?
No, I thought it was very interesting.
It was. The highest group of people to get it. Oh, and males get it more than females, so except when they get up to 75 and older, then women are at risk more than men, just because we live longer.
Right, that's what I was going to say. That's probably because most of the men that may have gotten it died.
Yeah. But if you look at the highest age group to catch Lyme disease, is 5 years old.
Wow.
5 years old, over 23,000 cases.
Well, and you figure kids are very active. They like to go outdoors and play, and for a lot of people, they're probably not even thinking, oh, hey, I should probably check my child to make sure he doesn't have a tick on him or anything.
And that's actually 5 to 10 years old, because the 0 age group must be 0 to 4. They were like 10,000. 5 to 10, and then 10 to 15 was your second highest with about 22,000 cases. And then it dropped. At 15 years drops, 20 years drop, 25 years drop, and then 30 it starts going back up. That's when we're all getting into the change life, change how we live, and it just keeps climbing, and it peaks at 50 years old. So all you younger people, watch out.
Right, but that's not to say that you outgrow it and you're immune to it or anything, because there again, it can go after, it's a non-discriminatory disorder. It doesn't care, age, sex, gender, nationality, don't care.
Right. Mike says, ticks don't bother me. Mike, I'm going to tell you what, come spend a day with me and Bill in Lyme Life, and ticks will bother you.
Yeah, I'll pass on that. No, thank you.
And so this map says only 70% get the erythema migrans, which is the bullseye. The sad thing, 2% of the people, thank God Bill and I aren't one of them, get either meningitis or encephalitis, which it can kill you.
Right.
And 4% get neuropathy, which is losing the feeling in your hands, feet.
Right, the numbness and tingling in your hands and feet and things of that nature.
Absolutely. And I again, the probable cases for 2017, probable and confirmed cases was about 28,000. With the probable, we went up to 43,000. That's a heck of a lot of cases of Lyme.
That's scary, too, because if I've got something going on, I would rather be able to say, oh, yes, it's confirmed, not my doctor going, oh, yeah, it's likely you could have Lyme's.
And I think those probable is stupid primary care providers that are saying, yep, you've got all the signs and symptoms, we're going to treat you for it, and they report it, but they don't test them.
Right. That's a very good possibility. Or on the other side of things, going back to the insurance, people are going, I don't know, that's pretty pricey. I really can't swing it right now. And I don't know. It's been my experience of the people that I've spoke to about it. You go back and you ask anybody that's been diagnosed with Lyme's, and most of them are going to tell you, I wish I had tried to do something sooner.
And the thing in my case, I was beating a dead horse trying to get somebody. I should have, and my girlfriend, my BFF in math, is like, you have it. You have it. Come home. Get treated. The thing is, I was too sick to go home.
Yeah, by that point, you couldn't do anything as far as going clear back to Massachusetts to try and deal with things.
No, I basically went to work, and I was 2 hours late. I missed an important meeting. I was there 20 minutes and said, I just want to lay down and go to sleep. And look, someone came in and said, you look like crap. I said, I feel like crap. I'm going home. And I couldn't make it home. I drove to Jack's house, my other dad, and said, I need to lay down. And I slept for 2.5 hours. And when I got up, I still didn't want to drive home, but I drove myself home and lived on the couch for 3 days.
Right.
and this is on high-dose Keflex and high-dose Bactrim. And I am dying from Lyme. Yeah, well, if you look at the provider handout, and it's on my other computer, and I'm not getting up, I'm very comfy sitting at the coffee table. But one of the diseases was Powassan's, I think that's how you say it, which you get from ticks. It's a really ugly-looking tick, too. That scared me because it had a lot of bad signs and symptoms, and the treatment was supportive care. And I'm going, okay, does that mean I need a vent? You're going to give me a vent? I mean, it was kind of vague in saying what that care might entail, which to me means it was bad.
Right, yeah, probably because they don't want to give you a coronary seeing what the treatment is.
Yeah, and but I was shocked at how many different, and it isn't just the deer tick, and that's why I posted that handout, because everyone's like, oh, it isn't the right tick. Well, guess what? Unless you look at a magnifying glass, they can look like other ticks when you just eyeball them. But the best thing you can do is if you pull a tick off you is to stick it in a freaking pill bottle.
Take it with you.
I always keep pill bottles in my detector bag. And I didn't have a tick on me. I didn't pull one off me, and that's why they didn't want to treat me. And I went swimming in a chlorine pool for 3 hours, so it obviously didn't like the chlorine.
Good point.
Yeah, so I never pulled the tick off me, and so everyone's like, did you get a tick? From now on, I'm going to say, yeah, I did. Oh, I flushed it. I forgot to bring it in.
Right. Yeah, good thinking. Because like we've said on other shows in the past of this nature, just because you get bit by a tick and you do wind up contracting Lyme's, that does not mean that you're immune to Lyme's after that. You could get it again, and not only that, ticks don't carry just Lyme's. Yes, the deer tick can carry Lyme's, but the other ticks can carry other nasty disorders too. I mean, the fleas are carriers for different disorders as well.
Oh, God. Bill says, Barb, what if you put the tick in your empty doxycycline bottle? Test would come back negative. No, it wouldn't. The thing is if you do find one, just be safe, stick it in a pill bottle. It'll die, yes. Stick it in the freezer. And then if you start feeling sick and you got to go to the doctor, take the freaking frozen tick with you. It'll be thawed by then, and they can send it for testing.
Right.
Because
always better to be on the safe side.
Some ticks carry Lyme, and they also carry the babiosa. That handout, I was like, there were diseases I didn't know about. I was like, ooh, I didn't want to read that.
Right?
I was like, there's a Ishishki or whatever, and there were some really weird names, and I'm like, I hadn't heard of half of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of them are out west, and the ticks that carry Rocky Mountain spotted fever carry those other weird things too. So if you live in those areas, that provider handout, look at it, because it's made for doctors, and it's very simplistic, but it tells you what area the tick is favorable to, what diseases it carries, the signs and symptoms, the treatment, and so it's better to be informed than to be ignorant.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you were traveling. You know where you were. Look at the pamphlet. See what the possible issues could be.
Oh, God. Mike said, yay, the secret to staying single, ticks in the freezer.
Well, at least he's got a optimistic outlook to it, I guess.
The thing is I wish I'd had the tick. You know, I wish I'd had the tick. I would have got treated and not been on. I mean, I drove to Ohio. I went to my doctor. She put me on antibiotics and said, come back Friday. I said, no, I'm leaving and going to Ohio Friday. And Thank God I stayed with people next door that were medical people. But when they said they were leaving, I had planned on coming back Monday. And when they're like, I was Sunday, and when they're like Saturday, no, we're leaving. I'm like, well, screw it. You know, 4.5, 5 hours, I'm going home. I don't remember half of my drive home. I was so sick.
You don't even remember part of your time in Ohio.
No, I didn't remember Bill till like months and months later when he's like, there were other people. I met you in Ohio. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. And I'm like, oh, I saw the photos going, yeah, I guess I did meet you.
Right. It's just another example of how this is a very serious disorder.
It is terrible. I wish I had carried my video camera around with me because there are days I don't remember. There are hours of days I don't remember. It was terrible. I mean, it was like, you figure I caught it in August, the end of August, my niece died, and 2 weeks later, you get the bullseye, and it's 2 weeks after that. So I had it for a month before they began treatment, and even once they begin treatment, you still feel like crap. So
absolutely.
We're looking at 5 weeks of just being in a fog, and then doxycycline is the most wonderful antibiotic. But if you ever have to take it, you better buy you the probiotics and don't buy the cheap ones. Buy the $18 for, I think it's like a week's worth or 2 weeks worth. Spend the money because you take doxycycline every 6 hours, and you can't, and you have to take it every 6 hours. And so I was staying up to midnight dying, sitting on the couch like a veg, and going, okay, 11:30, I can take it a half hour early, and then making sure that I'm up before 6:30 to take my next dose.
Right.
And so you're already beat and tired, and now you're killing yourself waking up and staying up to take those freaking doxy.
Exactly.
And if I hadn't to take it, I was up to 2 or 3 probiotics a day so I wouldn't puke.
Right.
Because doxycycline will make you puke, people.
Grand side effect.
It has a lot of GI properties. I tried with food, without food, with milk, without milk. You name it, I tried it, and it got to the point I had to take a probiotic an hour before my first dose. So now I'm getting up an hour earlier to take that, or I take it an hour after. But I can tell you I was on Doxy maybe 3 days, 4 days. When I'm teaching class and my student said, do you need a break? You don't look so good. I said, no, I'm going to go puke. And I went down the hall and puked. And went back to class and taught. I mean, even once they start the treatment, you're looking at day 14 before you start to feel better.
And this was all, after dealing with the Lymes for a month and then starting the treatment and things like that. Think about then for the other people like with Bill who dealt with it for 12 years probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
good
the thing
grief.
is, is the thing that sucks is a lot of the symptoms are like the flu. I'm achy. I got the chill.
Right. Yeah.
Out.
It's easy to shrug off as, oh, it's nothing serious. I'm coming down with something or whatever. I'll be fine in a few days. And that's where you get in trouble.
And I'm going to tell you, if you've been bitten by a tick, and the thing is, people get bit by a tick, and then 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, I don't feel good, and I'm puking. I probably got the flu. It's flu season. No, you probably got freaking Lyme.
Well, but then again, in some situations like yours, you didn't even know you'd been bit or anything. You just happened to notice the bullseye.
And you know what was funny? It woke me up. I was snoozing like a baby, and you know how something starts to hurt?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, it was burning. I'm like, why is my hip burning? And
right.
I felt it, and the skin felt abnormal. I'm half awake, half asleep. And when I pushed where the burning was, it hurt like a mother. And I was like up and out of bed and yanking my undies down to look at it. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got Lyme.
Right. That sucks.
And so, but remember, 66 to 71% get it, the rash, those 30%. And I'd like to know, Bill, did you ever at any time have a rash? But it hurt. It literally hurt so bad.
Right. Yeah, just because you don't get a bullseye doesn't mean that you're free and clear.
Exactly. And that's why I said if you get bit by a tick, put it in the freezer when you take it out, because it may be 2 weeks later, it's 2 weeks before you start feeling bad that, well, the bullseye is the erythema rash, but then 2 weeks after that, you can get the Lyme rash, which is head to toe. I mean, I didn't even know I had it because I laid on the couch for 2 days, and when I decided to go to the ED, I said, I can't go to the emergency room. My new graduates, I had asked them, are you busy, through Messenger, and they were like, no, come, and if you're asking, you're sick, so get here. And I thought, I haven't bathed in 3 days. I think I need a bath, because I felt so bad.
Right.
I got up, I got on the couch, I went back to sleep, I'd eat some soup, I'd get back on the couch and go back to sleep, I'd get up and go to bed and go back to sleep. And I did that for 3 days. So when I decided to go to the ED, it dawned on me I hadn't taken a bath in 3 days because I was too sick to get in the tub.
Right.
So I was going to take a shower, but I was too sick to stand in the shower. So I got in the bath, and it wasn't until I looked down at my legs that I had a rash from head to toe.
Exactly. Good
and
point.
When you don't have anyone to say, you got this funny-looking red rash all over your face, I didn't know.
Yeah, right. What do you do?
So you may not get the bullseye, but you may get the rash. You may get neither. But if you save the tick and you start experiencing some of the crap and feeling like, if you go to work and you go, that floor looks good, I'm just going to lay down there with a pillow, you probably have Lyme disease.
Right, the fatigue that goes along with it.
And the joint pain. And I can tell you, I got treated for 21 days, and I felt like crap for months and months and months. And it was maybe a year after I got treated that I ended up with the junk I got now, but worse,
right.
in my head and in my chest. And my doctor said, how about we put you on some doxycycline? And I'm thinking, oh, God, that crap. And I'm like, no, please, yes. And she looked at me, and I'm like, I still think I have Lyme. And so I did. I said, give me a good dose of it. I think she gave me like 10 or 12 days. And I want to tell you, about a month or two after that second round of doxy, boy, did I feel 100% better.
Nice. And that's the other thing, good to mention, is that sometimes that first round won't take care of it. You may have to go back and get yourself tested again, or go back and let them know, hey, nothing has really changed for me.
Well, and the thing like Bill said, the little bacteria can outrun, can hide, and so you do that doxy, and if it doesn't hit all of them to prevent them from replicating, you're going to need another round to hit those ones that miss.
Right. Otherwise, they're going to come back out and plug that Xerox back in.
Exactly. So I feel for anybody with it. I know Aggie has it, Bill has it. There was a couple other people on our last show that have had it. And yes, not everyone gets it the same degree, because everyone's immune system is different. Some people have a healthier immune system. It may just be genetic. I mean, you don't know. It's sad because if you look at, okay, we know it replicates and all this and what it does, but they don't really tell you, like HIV, we know how it gets in the cell, how it affects the DNA, the RNA, and all that. But they don't tell you that about Lyme. It's like, oh, here's Lyme, here are your symptoms, but they don't really get into the pathophysiology to tell you how it can be there for years and years and years. So I think it's a underrated disease that we need to have more education and awareness on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I had mentioned at the beginning of the show, there's been, myself included, you, even some of the listeners, big advocates on awareness for Lyme's disease, because it is such a serious disorder, and it is something that has a hunter, a detectorist, we're out there in that environment.
So I think the big thing people need to realize, one, we've touched, you can catch it any month of the year. Don't think just because it's cold, you can't get it. It is moving to other states that it was not prevalent in.
At alarming rates.
Yeah, I mean, when you think that Pennsylvania had 10,000 cases in 2017, that is a crap load of cases.
Absolutely.
That Massachusetts, the Cape and the islands are ground zero. If you go in there, take every dang precaution you can. I'm telling you, I'm going to Walmart and purchasing all my DEET and all that, and going to pre-soak all of my metal detecting clothes before I go this year, because I never want that crap again.
Right.
I was in a bad place when I was there and caught it, because when you have a niece who is healthy one day and strokes out and dies at 40 with 3 kids, it was just a devastating time in our family's life, and I just needed that mind. I'm like, the Portuguese American Club has, 10 acres. I'm like, can I please come and metal detect? I just need to zone out. I need to get in the zone, and my metal detector does that. And they were like, have at it, and never thought a thing about it because I wasn't in that normal frame of detecting mind. I was in that I need to soothe my soul and get my mind right,
Yeah.
take thing.
And don't even think that you have to be in the deep woods to pick up the limes carrying ticks or anything. You were only 50 feet into the woods, probably. You could pick it up at your local park, your own backyard.
And it's really a few pine trees, a few oak trees. I mean, it's not as dense. I mean, I could walk through it with no problem. I hit a couple cellar holes. I never went that far in, and I was just there maybe 2.5 hours, and look where it got me.
Right. Absolutely.
So it can get you anywhere. Look at the map. There are states with only a few cases. Like Pennsylvania, the state. Oh, what did I do with that?
Yeah, I mean, even Alaska has cases of limes.
Oh, yeah, Alaska does. The states that were totally purpled out, or like 98%, were Pennsylvania, Delaware, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, and New York.
Right, the general New England area kind of thing.
But Ohio is on the rise. North Carolina's on the rise.
Right.
There's even cases in Georgia and South Carolina. As you go west, they're few and far between. But I want to say Michigan, Missouri, and up there, it's getting pretty prevalent up there, too.
Right, and especially for people in Ohio, I didn't post the article over on the Metal Detecting Beyond Sight and Sound group because Barb's already got the link there, so it's kind of a whole double posting type thing. But it is on the Beyond Sight and Sound page as well as the Ohio Relic Hunters page, or group, actually. People in Ohio should go and read that article.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just, it's getting there. Bob wanted to know how Maine ranked. Hold on. I've killed a tree for y'all. Actually had 1,424 cases in 2017, Bob, which is an increase from 1,152 and 993. They did have a spike in 2014 of 1,169, but if you go back to 2007, 529 cases. So from 2007 to 2017, you've had a threefold increase from 500 to almost 1,500.
Yeah, see, that just goes to show that it's growing and spreading at an exponential rate. But in Bob's case, I'm sure he appreciates that you had all that data right at hand.
Yeah, I mean, Kentucky is great, 6 cases, and they've never been over 20 cases a year. Louisiana's never been over 10 a year. Arkansas's never been over 5 a year. And so there's no sense me researching those states. Connecticut had 1,400 cases. Maine 14, Minnesota 14. So Minnesota, you wouldn't think it's pretty up there. New Hampshire only had 1,000. New Jersey had almost 4,000. New York 3,500. Pennsylvania, like I said, close to 10,000. Virginia had 1,000. And so those are the big states. The rest just have a few cases, like Wyoming has 3. Wisconsin was up there, 1,800. So you can get all that information I've shared with you from any of the links. I have found it is easier to type in, like, if I want Mississippi, type in Mississippi CDC or Mississippi government line stats. And I like to go to the state first, then go to the CDC. because every state that I went to both, the numbers do not jive. Usually,
especially in terms of Massachusetts.
Oh yeah, Mass was the worst, but Pennsylvania was right on. It was exact for probable and confirmed. Their numbers matched the CDC. I was impressed. But all the other states I checked, if you added up the numbers any which way you added them, they did not jive with what was reported to the CDC.
And that's scary.
That scares me. It's like, okay, who isn't reporting or which one of you is screwing up?
Yeah, somewhere along the line, somebody's dropping the ball. And, you know, when we're talking in terms of the CDC, these are the people that we're relying on when there are these odd outbreaks and things.
And how can they let Massachusetts get away with this crap on not reporting?
Right. I would have to agree.
Oh, and I did send, just so y'all know, because I am an advocate, at the end of my time on mass.gov, it said, would you like to take a little survey? And I said, absolutely. And they wanted comments, and I told them I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that they were not reporting their Lyme disease statistics to the CDC, that was not fair to the public. I haven't heard from them.
Well, and I would have to speculate that you probably will not, or it'll be some sort of a generalized form reply of, oh, well, duly noted.
Oh, and I did put that I was doing a radio show on Lyme disease statistics, and I did not appreciate them. One, I had to really hunt to find those statistics on their page, and two, they didn't report them, but I would report what they had to say. And I did give them my email. Absolutely gave my email, and I checked my email today, and no, I have not heard from mass.gov.
Well, maybe now we know what happened with the show earlier.
It was them.
Right.
They went, we found you, baby. Keep talking about it.
Yeah, we'll show you.
But that just made me mad. So, you know, when you get those surveys and you're mad, especially when it's public awareness, things that the public needs to know, give them your 2 cents.
Right, except in this case, Mass was going, well, you know, we're not reporting, and neither are you once we find you.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll let them know I'm coming there in a few weeks, and if they want to have a meeting, I'll be glad to drive to Beantown.
Right, sit down and have some coffee with them, have a little discussion.
No tea. Well,
that's right.
Yeah, put the hot tea on and make sure they have some local honey. But, you know, be an advocate. Stand up to these government agencies that should be doing what the heck we pay them to do.
Right. I would have to agree.
I know we've gone way too long, and I know it's past your bedtime.
Well, as long as everybody was enjoying things, that's all right.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. It's such a pleasure. I do enjoy doing the research because, you know what, every time I know we kill Lyme, but it needs to be killed and no one else talks about it but for 30 seconds and then it's gone. There are so many people that don't know about it. You don't ever walk into a health department and it says, have you been tested for Lyme? No. Have you been tested for HIV? Yeah. Do you need food stamps? Yeah. So people need to be aware, and us as advocates for our sport, we need to let people know it's a bad thing, and they need to protect themselves.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. So if it seems like we're trying to beat it into people, hey, Lyme's is a very serious disorder, well, that's because we are.
and I know there are other major issues out there, but
yes, there are.
Poison ivy may or may not kill you. You know, if you breathe it, it could. Yeah, you could fall in the well and die, but, you know, that's like you took the option to take the step. But Lyme is preventable. Use your sprays, you know, spray your clothes, monitor your body. Don't pull the ticks off and throw them away. Keep them. Put them in the fridge. Put them in the freezer, wherever.
Right, and do some research. I mean, even if you do want to pull that tick off, there are proper and improper ways to do those things.
Oh, and I'm going to tell you, you know what? They now have a tick remover. I want you to really look at a tick. When you look at all the CDC picks, they don't really show what a tick does. If you think of, I'm trying to think, I have these little cutters that I cut wire with that they open up and then the two teeth come across to pinch the wire and cut it. That's a tick.
Right, exactly. And you got to figure, too, you know, we're talking about a creature that even the adult ticks are, what, normally the size of a sesame seed.
Yes, and they're only infectious in certain stages, but they start really little teeny weedy, and that's when they've got it. And I'm going to tell you, their teeth have like a 90-degree angle, and they come in at an angle pointed toward the center, and then they, like, screw up under, so they're actually, like, hinged into your body.
Right.
So you pull them out, and you don't get those fangs, they're going to stay in you and release more bacteria.
Exactly.
And so the best thing you can do is put something that does not let air get through, like a hunk of
chapstick.
Vaseline, something that's going to smother it and make it get out of you.
Right. And I still say I've ran across some people that I'd like to try that method with them as well, but, you know, who knows? One of these days, maybe I'll have to put that theory to the test.
But yeah, I can say the second worst tick bite I ever got, I went to a hunt with Trish Ramsey down in South Carolina near, a cowpen. We didn't find anything. It's been hunted for years, and but we had fun. But I'm coming up 26 through Hendersonville, and I get this massive pain in the middle of my back, and I know it's a tick, and I can't reach it. And it just gnawed on me for an hour and a half on the way home, digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And that was the worst tick bite I have ever had. I didn't get Lyme from it, not that I know of, but it was terrible.
Right, still not a good position to be in.
Bill says clear nail polish. That's good for chiggers. I don't know about ticks. I've never tried nail polish on a tick.
I've heard that it works, but I've not tried that.
Oh, something my sister told me today. When I was got done talking with you yesterday, sitting on my porch, I had a freaking wasp come over and bite me.
A wasp?
Yep.
I thought don't they sting?
Yeah, they stung me, bite me, whatever. It hurt like a mother. And so I was telling her, and she's like, where's the nest? I said, I don't know. I hope it's not under the porch. And she said if you sprayed their nest with hairspray, they can't get out of it.
Interesting.
Well, I know you can take hairspray and torch it with your lighter, but, you know, if it's attached to your house...
Well, yeah, probably not the best move to make if it's under your deck or something.
Right, but she said just the hairspray alone, they can't get out of the nest.
I like it.
So
I may have to try that.
That's your big tip for the night.
Yeah, there you go. So you think we've got all the links covered then?
I think so, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. I know a lot of people dropped off, but hopefully we had a lot of people listening, and they're better informed, and I look forward to doing it again in the fall. I'll hunt for some new topics like tree wells. I'd never heard of those before, and see what crazy crap's out there after the summer.
There you go. Yeah, good enough. And that's for those that have dropped off. That's what the archives are for. They can come back and hopefully find themselves a little more informed, I guess.
Exactly. So I hope I gave you some new info. I hope you look at the links. To me, being informed is the best thing you can do. And knowing the signs and symptoms and how to protect yourself.
Absolutely. Educate the uneducated. Well, then I guess it's about time for us to roll out of here.
Thank you for having me, Josh. I always appreciate it. You have a good night, and I'll see you soon.
All right. Hang in there with me for a minute, Barb, and we'll get out of here.
All right.
So for everyone else, if you enjoyed the show, make sure and throw us a like on the way out. But we have been on here for quite some time, so it is time to roll. We will see everyone else on the pages. Have a wonderful evening, folks.